Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the SWUS. Continuing on with college football week 10 Thursday night. We got two games on the board. Let's get into it. I mean, is Cooper Rush worth 2.5 points? I would hope Quinn Ewers put up a decent stat line against Arizona State. If he didn't, we have a real problem.
You can say the same thing about Creighton. Okay, they had the one good game against Kansas at home.
When Toast talks about the kicking market, it's like some earth is flat shit. Andy, true or false, this is going to be a dog walking.
Dog walking. This is my dog walking of the day. I think it's going to be very ugly. Dog walking. I think this is going to be ugly.
Hey, get the sauce. Marshall's on the road at Coastal Carolina in what is unexpectedly a big game here in the Sun Belt Conference. I don't think anyone was expecting much from these two teams, but for those of you that don't follow Sun Belt football, so Marshall actually won the conference last year, but Charles Huff left. That's the head coach. He left and took most of the team with him. So this is kind of just a rebuilding year. They bring in Tony Gibson, who was the defensive coordinator at NC State, which should be a decent hire, but it was just a brand new team. And certainly nobody was expecting much out of Marshall offensively, or I should speak in the first person. At least I wasn't. But, I mean, we're seeing this Marshall team win football games. We're talking about back-to-back huge wins over tough conference opponents. 48-24 over Old Dominion. Nobody saw that one coming. They were 2-touchdown underdogs, and then they squeak out a double overtime win over Texas State. This Marshall team, I mean, sitting at 2-1 in conference with a win over Coastal. I don't know how Coastal is 3-1 in conference, by the way. With a win over Coastal, they move into the second spot here in the Sun Belt East Division and become James Madison's biggest threat on the board and actually have an outside shot. They play James Madison at home this year, right after this. So actually they have a bye after this, and then they play James Madison. So Marshall wins this game. They're in a position where they just need to beat James Madison at home, which is no small feat, but they just need to beat James Madison after the bye week, and they're in the driver's seat to play in the Sun Belt Championship again, which is crazy. I think we can all agree it's probably not going to happen, but let's give this Marshall team some credit. And like I said, the most surprising part of this Marshall team has been the offense. In their last 4 games, now some of the points were scored in overtime, but they're averaging over 45 points per game, 46.8% success rate, over 6.1 yards per play. Remember, I mentioned Tony Gibson comes in to be the new head coach. He's a defensive guy. He was the defensive coordinator at NC State. The quarterback left with Charles Huff. So they've got basically a brand new roster on the offensive side of the ball and a defensive head coach. So this truly came out of nowhere. And even more surprising is how. I mean, we were expecting them to be a run-first offense, and they are. They do run the ball a lot. But Carlos Del Rio Wilson, insanely efficient, throwing the ball out of nowhere. He's playing out of his mind right now. We didn't even know he was going to be the quarterback coming into the season. It was an open competition between him and Zion Turner, the UConn guy. Zion Turner actually won the job and started the first 2 games. And then Carlos Del Rio Wilson took over. His passing numbers in the last 4 games. Over 123.9 NFL passer rating, over 253 passing yards per game. He's piecing secondaries up from a clean pocket. He's also the team's leading rusher. So out of nowhere, this kid is playing out of his mind right now. It's crazy when you look at this graphic. Look at the Marshall rushing numbers. This is a run-first offense. They're 99th in success rate per rush, 127th in PPA per rush. Now, their running back, Michael Allen, is going to miss his 2nd straight game, but they just got another one of their running backs back from injury, Joe Barbie. So they lose a running back, get a running back back. This is an offense that wants to run the ball still, but their most efficient weapon has been the passing attack. Now, we do want to give Coastal Carolina some credit. They have played back-to-back solid defensive games. In their last 2, they're allowing less than 5.3 yards per play, under 37% success rate. App State and Louisiana Monroe, not exactly powerhouses, but let's not sweep it under the rug. Coastal Carolina does seem to be playing better defensively, but the way Marshall looks, I think they're going to move the ball. I don't particularly think this Coastal Carolina team is very good. Certainly not on the offensive side of the ball. We'll get to it. But the way this Marshall offense is humming, I think they're going to score because they just look unstoppable out of nowhere. I did not see this coming. I'll say that. Now we get to the other side of the ball, and I really don't know what's going on with the Coastal Carolina quarterback situation. It's been a mess so far this year. So here's a quick summary of what's gone on for Coastal at quarterback. MJ Morris started the season as the starter. He came from Maryland last year. Remember, he was Talia Tagovailoa's backup, or was that 2 years ago? He comes from Maryland. I forget exactly, but he comes from Maryland. He was the starter to open up the year. He threw 3 interceptions against Charleston Southern, and Coastal almost lost the game to Charleston Southern. So week 2, he was benched. Tad Hudson took over. So we're now in week 3. Tad Hudson is the starting quarterback. The offense doesn't exactly look great, but then he gets injured in the beginning of the Louisiana-Monroe game. Tad Hudson gets injured. Senior Samari Collier comes in. Now, Samari Collier he started 2 games now. Well, 1 start and 1 where he came in the very beginning. He has more rushing yards than he does passing yards, to give you the idea of what kind of quarterback he is. Here's the thing. Coastal Carolina won both football games, 23-8 over Louisiana-Monroe, and then 45-37 over App State. And look, Collier doesn't offer much as a passer, but look at Coastal Carolina's rushing numbers in those 2 games. Over 265 rushing yards per game, over 5.8 yards per carry, 49% success rate per rush. Now, there's a couple things to consider here. First, they played Louisiana-Monroe and App State, neither of whom has a respectable Sun Belt defense. Second, you have to consider the element of surprise here. I mean, nobody expected Collier to be the starting quarterback. No one expected no one prepared for that type of Coastal offense, to have a quarterback in that's strictly a runner that doesn't throw the ball. So you have the element of surprise. And third, and this is where the wrench gets thrown into things. So this is what we've seen from Coastal the last 2 games. They won back-to-back games with a quarterback that runs the ball more than he throws it. Well, now Tad Hudson is back. He's off the injury report. But Coastal won 2 games with Collier at quarterback. So I'm reading Tad Hudson should get the QB1 spot back. I'm really not sure. Like I said, like I started this whole soliloquy off with, I don't know what's going on at quarterback for Coastal Carolina. If you're a Coastal fan, could you put it in the comments? Is Tad Hudson the starter again? Because Coastal won back-to-back games with Collier at quarterback. I would think Coastal would go back to Tad Hudson. He offers more in terms of throwing the ball, and Marshall's defense has been pretty solid against the run this year. They've been vulnerable to the pass. They actually got smoked through the air in their last 2 games against Old Dominion and Texas State. So you would think if you're Coastal, you would throw Hudson out there who offers you more in terms of a passing attack, but I really don't know. I'm leaning towards Marshall here. I like the way this team looks. It's up to 6.5 now. Wow. But yeah, I'm leaning towards Marshall. I think the train rolls on. I also don't like the atmosphere here at Coastal. This is right on Coastal's website. So the Haunteclairs, with the game taking place on Halloween Eve, the city of Halloween will be transforming Brooks Stadium into a spooktacular venue. We're encouraging all fans to wear their costumes and get ready to cheer on the Haunts. Medieval Times halftime show. For the first time ever, the popular Myrtle Beach show will come to life at a college football game. On Thursday night, Brooks Stadium will welcome the Knights of the Alliance as they team up with everyone's favorite mascot, Chauncey, for a one-of-a-kind Halloween experience. Glow sticks and costume contest. Just doesn't exactly scream harsh football environment. I'm fading that. I think Marshall wins comfortably. I'm not laying 6.5 on the road, though. To be honest, I don't have much conviction on this one. I'd go Marshall or over here. Tulane's on the road at the Alamo Dome in what should be a good one. This Tulane team's been winning football games. They're 3-0 in conference. They're in great shape. It hasn't exactly looked amazing. In fact, they were losing the East Carolina and Army games in the 4th quarter, but they have won 3 in a row, 3-0 in conference. This is going to be their toughest test, though. Those ECU and Army games were at home. Now they're going on the road to the Alamo Dome, where UTSA is going to put up a big number. They always score points at home. They averaged over 42 points per game at home last year, and they're off to a similar start this year. This year, in their home FBS games, they're averaging over 48 points per game, over 6.9 yards per play. This UTSA offense is like an arena football team. They love it indoors. They always go nuts in this building. UTSA has lost 2 of their last 3 football games, but where are the losses? On the road, outdoors, at the Link against Temple, and then on the road at North Texas. Their home game sprinkled in there. They put up 61 points on Rice, 61-13. So even though Tulane's defense is tough, there's not many defenses I would trust to make stops on the road against this offense. I know when you're looking at the matchup between Tulane's defense and UTSA's offense, it doesn't look like much of anything, but you have to consider that UTSA's offense is much different at home. And look, Tulane's defense has played really well. In their last 3 games, they've allowed 16.7 points per game, 4.73 yards per play. This Tulane defense is playing well, and they've slowed down some fast-paced offenses. Obviously not Army, but ECU runs a fast pace, Tulsa runs a fast pace. So I understand why the total's lower in this game, but UTSA in that dome is just a different animal. Check it out. UTSA has scored 36 points or more in 8 consecutive home games, and they scored 40-plus in 6 of those 8. This UTSA offense is just a unit I trust in this building. So I think UTSA is going to score points on Tulane's defense because they always score points at home. And on the other side of the ball, I expect Tulane to score points right back. This UTSA defense isn't exactly excellent. They're vulnerable to downfield throws. I think Retzlaff in this dome could have himself a big game. UTSA's defense was actually looking all right for a stretch. I mean, they had a 4-game stretch against Incarnate Ward. Colorado State, their offense is a mess. Temple, that's a good offensive game, but Casey Keeler runs a misdirection, run-first offense, and then Rice runs an option offense. They were kind of exposed last week by North Texas. They gave up 55 points, over 7.2 yards per play. Now, Tulane isn't quite as explosive as North Texas, but this is a talented offense, and I think they're going to score points right back. I'm on the over in this one. Check this out. The last 7 games played in this building, the Alamo Dome, here's the point totals we've seen. 74, 68, 79, 78, 75, 80, 62. We've seen 7 consecutive overs in this building. It's being bet down. I don't get it. I'm on the over. I like this one. Over 50. Well, you can get a 53.5 right now. Give me the over.
Update here. So for those of you that follow along with the bets on the website, I made a mistake. I accidentally bet this game twice, and I posted it twice. So I didn't mean to post it twice, but I bet it at open, and then I forgot that I had bet it, and then I bet it again. So I don't delete bets off the website for the specific reason of if I post it and then someone tails and then you delete it and they're like, what the hell? So I don't do that, so I have to let it rock. So unintentionally, this is a huge bet for me, but it wasn't supposed to be. I posted it twice by accident. So if you tailed both of them, I apologize for that. I do like the over. The fact that it was posted twice is a mistake, so sorry about that.